Back in 2012, AI was used by large corporates when it comes to deploying these deep machine learning models for claims assessing or fraud prediction. Now, when you say AI, many people think ChatGPT, think assistants.
Today's guest built a multi-million-pound data analytics firm, then pivoted to AI agents, before most people could actually spell ChatGPT. Vasili Nevlov is the founder of Analysium and the creator of AIgentic.
You've been working with AI since 2012. How does the current hype compare to the early days?
Current hype has changed what AI means for people. Back in 2012, AI was used by large corporates when it comes to deploying these deep machine learning models for claims assessing or fraud prediction. What has changed in the last 3 years since ChatGPT 3.5 was released in November, so almost 3 years ago, is it become a household understanding of what AI is.
In this episode, we get into scaling services, reinventing business models, and how to build real-world AI when your clients still do not know what CRM stands for.
So, simplest way that I found explaining what is AI agent is to draw a parallel with a human agent.
Hey everyone. Today's guest built a multi-million-pound data analytics firm, then pivoted to AI agents before most people could actually spell ChatGPT. Vasili Nevlov is the founder of Analysium, a data analytics consultancy serving enterprise giants like Barclays and Deutsche Bank, and more recently, the creator of AIgentic, a new venture building agent-led AI solutions for the mid-market. With a background in real AI, not just the buzzwords, Vasili is now focused on making intelligent automation both accessible and practical for the business world. In today's episode, we get into scaling services, reinventing business models, and how to build real-world AI when your clients still do not know what CRM stands for. Let's get into it. Hey, Vasili, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me.
And tell me, you've been working with AI since 2012. How does the current hype compare to the early days?
The current hype has changed what AI means for people. Back in 2012, AI was used by large corporates when it comes to deploying these deep machine learning models for claims assessing or fraud prediction. Now, when you say AI, many people think ChatGPT, think assistants. What has changed in the last 3 years since ChatGPT 3.5 was released in November, so almost 3 years ago, is it become a household understanding of what AI is.
Got it. And let's talk about multi-analytics, right? You took it to 2 million plus revenue with clients like Barclays and Capgemini. What worked early on and what broke as you scaled?
One of the challenges working with the large organizations like Barclays or Capgemini is to be able to find a business model that fits. And that business model has to evolve over time because the market, technology, and demands from the corporates doesn't stand still. The trends change. Gartner releases new recommendations that C-suite pick up, and they bring those to the consultancies and saying, help us to implement X and Y. What never changed is adaptability. You have to really adapt to the needs, to the trends. You need to keep an eye on the horizon, see what's coming, and be ready to service your customers with what's coming. And that's adaptability. That's what never changed.
Got it. So you kind of moved on, and now you've launched AIgentic, and why now? What have you seen in the market? What's appealed to you?
AI agents is where the world is going very rapidly. We're seeing the shift of move from human labor to digital labor. And if before clients are coming to us and are saying, help us implement a data solution like self-service BI and so on, and that meant focusing on data engineering. Now clients fall into one of the two categories. The first category is about fear of missing out, where they come over and saying, we can see AI happening. We're very busy. How can we start implementing it within our business? And another one is a bit more on the hype cycle, where executives and managers, they're buying into the idea that the business can be transformed quickly and rapidly. They want to get the first step over their competition. But the question is still the same. Help us to implement AI now to take advantage of the trend to defeat our competition by being there first. And that's with that demand, with that aspiration from the businesses to take a step. It was a no-brainer to start moving in that space.
Understood. So when I look at, companies like Barclays and Capgemini, those are kind of enterprise companies, right? But now you've kind of moved on to more non-enterprise, what do you call mid-market companies. Why? I mean, what triggered that decision out there? Why not stick with the bigger ones, the enterprise companies?
Because selling an enterprise market for a medium-sized business like us by ourselves is very difficult. The sales cycles are lengthy, the projects are
Yeah.
huge in size. But we were partnering before with the large organizations like Capgemini and the others to deliver those bigger projects. Now in the medium-sized market, we're going by ourselves with a direct distribution, and also because medium-sized market is not where those large consultancies are currently present yet. Those size of opportunities and size of projects are simply too small for them because of how big they are. So we can focus with the mid-market companies by delivering it efficiently to them and still have a margin to make money, given our own size. So it's a medium-sized businesses buying from medium-sized businesses type of reality.
Okay, that makes sense. And when you talk about SMEs, right, or the mid market also, when you are talking about AI specifically, what kind of unique challenges you're seeing? Because the founders, owners, or the shareholders, right? They yes, they do hear the buzzwords. They want to get on the bandwagon. What are
Yeah.
some of the challenges you're seeing in terms of this kind of implementation adoption? And give us some case studies also after that.
One of the challenges selling into medium-sized businesses is lack of maturity. And lack of maturity not only on digital side or the data side, but also across the full data spectrum, which I'm sure you can appreciate given your side of the business. They sometimes come to us and saying, we would like to implement AI agents. But when we investigate further, they're not entirely sure what their business strategy is or how they're tackling the market or what is their marketing approach. When we talk about AI should be implemented in the areas that are rich with data and a process that are highly repeatable and frequent. You don't necessarily automate your edge cases. You automate core parts of your business where the large number of employees already working on the repeatable tasks that data rich. And our conversation with the businesses usually goes with what is your business strategy? What's holding you back? Now let's use AI to unblock your bottlenecks. Challenge with the medium-sized businesses, they're not entirely sure what their business strategy is or how they're going to sell and win in the market. And it's very difficult for us as a data analytics consultancy help with the businesses who really need management consultancy specifically to their industry rather than us with expertise in AI agents.
Got it. And Vasily, one of the challenges what I've been reading on is, the businesses, SMEs, SMBs, they come in, adopt AI, and then they realize their adoption is not really fit for purpose, and then they spend, I think double or triple the amount just to undo this changes. Have you come across that, and what kind of guidance you've seen you can give people listening into it?
And not only that, AI can also lead to some risks. For example, I've published some articles before in the videos about where AI starts sending out confidential documentation through a shared mailbox that was automated with AI, or where someone buys software as a service solution, one of those AI platforms to implement AI agents, only to realize that the startup on the back of that solution is so digitally immature that they implement their production servers without any security protocols in place. Means the hackers don't even need to hack anything. Logs and the prompts are all widely available out there because you buy from a business that just entered the market and they so rushed it to get to the market that they took some shortcuts they shouldn't have. And that's a real challenge. AI can certainly lead to some harm. AI can also lead to some challenges with the business and sales teams that lose their competitive advantage by relying on AI too much. I'm sure you've seen how many marketing emails now use emojis. That never used to
Yes.
happen before. And the reason it's happening now, because these marketing teams, they use ChatGPT to generate their content. And they rely on a ChatGPT to start inserting those emojis. Now, as a business owner, you will see a rise in the productivity for your marketing team because they can now produce the content faster. But longer term, what we're seeing that all those businesses start sound the same because they all use the same ChatGPT models to produce the same kind of content. And if you run a business, you can't afford to sound the same like anyone else because you're losing
Correct.
it. And of course, your
Yes.
team, by relying so much on AI, will lose their ability of critical thinking themselves, which also will lead. Now, you don't want your critical teams to lose that capability of thinking on their own and be creative.
Makes sense. There's one point I wanted to pick up on is on the security aspect of it, right? So we've seen this in the news and all. How, especially now, if people are using AI agents or SMEs are using AI agents, what kind of security, I would say, protocols or awareness that business owners need to have? They're not the people actually doing it, right? They get people like yourselves or in-house teams coming and doing it. So talk to me about that part. What kind of a key guidance you can give SMEs on this one?
We actually launched a masterclass training course that will be available on the YouTube. I think the next episode is coming out this Thursday, where we talk about the decision framework, how to select. And what you select, the tools and the decisions you put into it, very much depends on what you're using it for. Are you using it for important production workloads? Are you using it with the personal data like a marketing generation, or perhaps something that's trivial? And it's those decisions that should guide the principles about which tools you select and what security demands you will have. I'll give you some examples. We work with a charity that processes very confidential information, so medical information as they're helping patients. And for them, security is paramount. So they're working with us to bring all the workflows and LLMs in-house, put it within their own network, and have the full security protocol across the whole board. So traffic is encrypted, none of the prompts are leaking out anywhere. It's the data processed within their perimeter. It's more expensive, but they have a full control across the whole board of what's happening. And for some other cases, it's much easier just to start using ChatGPT and not necessarily worry about if, let's say, some of your social posts where you are reusing information from a third party is going to leak out into those models.
Got it. Got it. And speaking about what you mentioned about YouTube, I know you have a funnel, right? You're building a funnel that educates and qualifies leads. What does that look like in practice out there?
Right. So I've mentioned that medium-sized businesses, they lack maturity on a digital side and a business side. And that meant that we need to educate the businesses in a slightly different way. The way we're building out the funnel is we produce some shorter content that sits on top. That's your YouTube shorts, TikTok shorts, which then are distributed across various social platforms. We use some of the AI there, but with the human supervision. And then longer term content that sits on our YouTube, on academy training platform there. And the reason being, medium-sized businesses, they need help. They need to understand the basic terminology. Start with the basics. Like again, our masterclass that covers what is a context, what is a hallucination, what is a token, what impact it has. One of the most viral content that we produced was when I explained how just simply selecting the right model from OpenAI can impact your costs. And it could be 120 times difference in the cost you pay per token, simply depends on which model that you select. So we educate en masse the businesses about what it takes to implement AI. And we effectively score the leads in the process as they travel through our funnel, as we need to work with the businesses that have some digital maturity already in place before we can really provide services.
I love it. And I think last time I spoke to you, which may have been over a month ago, you had, I think, I crossed, was it 1,000 subscribers or something? I saw a post on LinkedIn. Was it on YouTube you crossed? Was the current count now out there? Any
We
idea?
just shy of 1,300. I think 1,270, I think it was.
Well done. Amazing. Amazing.
Because
You've also talk about, when we talk about AI agents also, what's kind of the most misunderstood aspect of building AI agents? And how do you differentiate between a chatbot and an AI agent also?
that's a very good question. I guess, can I use the whiteboard? Would that work?
Of course you can. Yeah, we can see it. Go for it.
Yeah. So a simplest way that I found explaining what is AI agent is to draw a parallel with a human agent. Most businesses have sales people within their organizations. That salesperson is your sales agent, right? So this sales agent in the middle can see it, okay? Yeah. And it can interact with the systems. It has ability to interact with its environment, and it has a memory and a feedback loop that goes around. So like a memory, like that. So that's your sales agent. Sales agent works with your CRM system. It does things like communicating with your customers and communicating with colleagues. And then it can learn from its own experience back to be able to improve it. AI agent, the difference to a normal chatbot, is exactly that. AI agent has access to tools. So you connect it to your calendar, you connect it to your mail. It has access to some kind of memory. So it can plan steps. It can go back and check what it planned, what it executed, learn from some of that experience. And it has ability to interact with the wider environment. That's the concept of AI agent. The shift in the paradigm was we created LLMs that could simply predict the next word. And then we build ecosystem of tools like a function calling and the others to allow businesses and individuals to integrate it like the way we integrate humans. So when you have, let's say you just hired a junior employee that comes into your business to be a salesperson, You get the junior employee, you have to train them on how to use your CRM system. You have to explain them about what the services you sell, what kind of customers you sell. That's actually the same paradigm on when you implement AI. You implement AI agent and you need to context engineer. In that context engineer, you need to provide information about who you're working with, who your customers are, what products you sell. You need to enable the tools through your APIs, MCP, and whatever else. So your AI agent can go and update your CRM records and reflect on the actions you've taken. It's not that different to when you hire a human and you implement that human within your business.
Understood. That's a very good explanation. Thank you. For those who are listening on Spotify and Apple, jump onto the YouTube channel and have a look at that diagram. So in terms of the SME, so where are you actually seeing, I'm going to come back to that drawing too, where are you seeing kind of real traction right now, specific industries, functions, or kind of pain points? Where are you seeing the traction right now?
It's employee training mainly.
Okay.
From SMEs, one of the most common questions that I get from the managers is how to start implementing AI within the business. And the reason that question is asked from the point of view, how do I bring employees on board? And there are really good reasons why they are fearful. We've seen examples of where businesses come in and saying, we will start implementing AI to cut costs and then create efficiency. What that tells to the employees, you're going to help us train AI so we could fire you. And so one of the parts there is that cultural change and transformation. How do you start implementing AI in the business that is safe, but also you bring your employees on board and you engage employees in the process? One of the reasons why AI adoption slow in many businesses is because executives and the managers haven't found a way to bring employees on board, haven't found a way to enable them not only with the right use cases, but with the right training, with the right examples of what the good and safe use of AI is. That's by far one of the biggest challenges. The second biggest challenge after that, when it comes to implement AI, is actually context engineering and systems. A large amount of time is spent on simply bringing and integrating your data together, making that data available to the AI, create the context around it. That challenge, I must say, existed for a long time, even before ChatGPT came out. Like you asked me about 2012, if you wanted to train a machine learning model, your typical data scientist would spend 80% of their time data wrangling before they actually start training a machine learning model. The situation hasn't changed. Businesses still need to enable their systems, integrate the systems, find how to get access to that data. A lot of it is locked down, a lot of it isn't available. Put it in a secure place, make sure that the AI has access to the right data, to the right quality, in the right amount. And that's by far is the biggest challenge.
Understood. And I think that's a very important point, right? If you look at SMEs, the quality of the data structures, everything around that, right, are not that great at the end of the day, right? And I think that's a fundamental challenge before you actually layer something like AI or AI agents on top of it. I think what will come of the guidelines if someone listening in, typically on the data aspect of it, how to maintain, I think, a good quality data, good structures around it, which is really new to them, right? It's actually news to them right now, most of the mid-market.
That's right. And there is a big difference between a corporate and medium-sized business. Corporate, because of the scale of the business, they have a chance to put governed processes in place, quality controls within those processes. They have many more systems with many more boxes for the employees to complete, and have a large volume to worry about. The impact is much bigger. Many SMEs, because they operate with much smaller teams, simply didn't have the resources to invest into the same process definition, into same data governance, if you like, until now. Now that the AI is coming in and it's impacting SMEs, many SMEs realize that now is the time more than ever to sit down and define what is your process, to make sure that when you have a 5 salespeople, that those 5 salespeople roughly following the same sales process, because you need to make sure your data is governed. And if you were to automate anything within your business, you really need to have a defined process. Can you imagine automating a sales process that doesn't exist and your 5 people all work in a completely different way when it comes to sales? It won't be possible.
Yep. Okay. No, fair point. I think that's one of the key things, a consideration before adopting anything, actually, that the data structures are good in this place. Now, talk to me about, you shared it, how hard it is to sell when the buyer isn't even clear on their own problems. How do you stay patient through all this? How do you work your way through this?
It's a good question. What we what we're trying to do in Analysium is we're trying to build a community now around us, a community of like-minded other businesses that want to implement AI. And we build that community by trying to be useful first. So not focusing too much on sales, not jumping into sales first. If you imagine what I'm trying to do, if you imagine a graph like that, with our content on LinkedIn, with our content on other platforms, we're simply trying to create value for the customers first before we go into sales. By being useful to as many people and many organizations as possible now, free of charge, we hope we secure clients that actually want to take the relationship with us to the next level and start working on the actual implementation. So it's not about being patient as such, it's about focusing on being useful. And then those relationships that are being sparked on the back of being useful, we aim to take to the next level by having a professional services relationship.
Got it. Got it. And when you talk about Analytium, right? What's something you had to unlearn from your Analytium days to make AIgentic work today?
One of the big challenge was that Analytium was started before the ChatGPT days and was a classical consultancy. With AIgentic, we are AI first in-house. We use AI across the full board. We adopted Notion AI, we adopted Google Gemini. We have completely changed our systems. We sat down and we said, for the new brand, for the new business, we start completely from scratch and it's AI first. And that was a shift in the paradigm. We had to consciously ask ourselves how we worked in the past is not necessarily a good way to be working forward. Even this morning, I was talking to my team about how we automate some of our proposal writing with AI. How do we approach and go forward? So that's one bit that we had to unlearn. We had to remind ourselves to pretty much forget the old way of working because it wasn't AI first. And now you can say, eating our own dog food, and we AI first ground up.
Amazing. Amazing. Talking about you as a founder, right? You show up on YouTube now. How have you what have you learned about showing yourself publicly on channels like these?
Like anyone else, taking that step and becoming a YouTuber, putting my face out, I felt a little bit insecure in the beginning. But I realized very quickly no one really cares. And so what I've learned is the internet doesn't care. People don't really care. They just want to have something useful for them, something now. They don't necessarily spend money. They spend time consuming your content, and they are there to spend the time as their investment because they hope to get something useful. They don't care about me necessarily as a person. And that's what I've learned with being out there as a public person. Those insecurities didn't really matter. No one was there to judge me or how I pronounce certain things or what I have to say. They're there because they want to learn something, and while you can keep their attention and share something useful.
Got it. And talk to me about, you spoke about the AIgentic new team. How is it different in terms of the workforce? What's your kind of workforce right now compared to what Analytium was? What's the kind of change you're seeing out there?
Right, that's a very good question. I think if you hmm, let me rephrase that one. AIgentic right now does not resemble a consultancy. AIgentic right now resembles a media business, a community business, if you like, that builds a community through media. Large portion of our focus is on producing useful content out there and automating everything around it. That's where a lot of our workflows are right now. We very much had to change our thinking and ask ourselves, how can we be as useful as we can be to the large masses? And that meant going back and learning how to produce content, how to cut it, how to automate it, and how to distribute it on scale, on mass, which is something that as a consultancy before we never really needed to think about. So right now, Agentic resembles a media business more than a consultancy business.
Well said. So lower staff than if if it's not a consultancy service. Now, coming back onto, you spoke about content, right? So how do you decide what content to make versus what to teach?
It's all data analytics. When it comes to YouTube, we have a subscription with the services like vidIQ, where before we even script any video, we check the key terms, similar to your search engine optimization. We check how many searches people do for particular terms. We check the level of competition for those terms on YouTube. We check what questions people ask when they search for particular terms. And it's important selecting a niche that is not overly competitive, but still with a high enough search volumes that we can speak to. And we do that very much with our audience in mind. I have agents that pretend to be our customers, and with them, I use them as focus groups to actually refine the YouTube script and the YouTube content to make sure that it resonates with them. No joke, we have some personas that are written that then agents adopt, and they provide the feedback while being those personas on the content that we planning to produce. So it's very much data analytics that drives our choices on what we produce and what we output.
Excellent. And talk to me about when you look at AIgentic, what do you see the company in the next 12 to 18 months? What does success look like in the 12 to 18 months from today?
We haven't finished solving the most important challenge for any business, and that's finding the product market fit. We're still experimenting with a number of services and solutions for the medium-sized businesses. We experiment with some face-to-face training, some now doing online training, packaging some agents into solutions, experimenting with some services and several niches. So within 12 to 18 months, I think we will finish that experimentation. We'll find one or two niches where we can be truly successful, and then we start rapidly investing into expansion within those niches. What they're going to be is still difficult to say. We have many more things that we're experimenting. We have experience of scaling teams rapidly, training teams rapidly. So I would like to see a full end-to-end teams deployed at servicing those niches quickly and efficiently in the next 12 to 18 months.
Okay, so still it's an exploratory phase right now to understand what's the right market fix out there, and understandably so.
It still is, yes. And I don't think anyone out there fully or completely solved the challenge of AI for the SME market. And I think it's not only us, but other businesses experimenting. I keep a close eye on other businesses, other consultancies like us in this niche, and I can see they're on the same journey as us. So I don't think anyone has solved it yet.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you based on my conversations too. And talk to me, what are the top 3 things that have made you successful where you are today?
Um, I think being a successful entrepreneur means combining two characteristics that sit on a opposite to each other. I am long-term optimist that it's always going to work out, and it's everything is going to be fine. We will succeed. We will win. We will build a business. We'll build a brand. We'll build another team. And a short-term paranoia, if you like, that something gonna go wrong. That contract is not going to get signed, that your best employee will get poached, that another experiment is not going to work out, a critical project will fail. So what really kept me going in many ways is that long-term optimism and short-term paranoia that something going to go wrong, and being able to kind of combine and manage it day to day and week to week. I think that's what made me successful and to keep going.
Okay. And top 2 books you would recommend to anyone starting off on their journey right now?
Specifically about AI or in general?
You decide, across both business and AI.
Okay. I finished recently a number of books from Daniel Susskind, he's economist from Oxford University. The book that I end up recommending to many people in my network is specifically one called Growth, but he also wrote a number of the others, like The World Beyond Work. He was very good in my mind as the economist explaining the nature of economic growth and also how economic growth can be transformed with technologies like AI, both looking into the past, looking at internet, looking at computing, and also drawing the line into the future. I think from not necessarily AI point of view, but something that mixes concepts from sociology, economics together in a world of AI and trying to explain the future. I think that's excellent books. And on a personal note, one book that I read many years ago, probably 17, 18 years ago, was Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's one of the bestseller books, and it's true that book truly helped me to become a better father, a better business person, a better husband in so many ways. I drew so many lessons from that book.
Fantastic. Well, so that's a wrap. Thank you for today. Great having you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure.